Iron Man has faced many villains throughout his many MCU appearances, though some are far more threatening than others. Despite not boasting any inherent superpowers, Iron Man has faced down some immense threats, which makes his track record even more impressive. Iron Man has additionally faced fellow superheroes, most notably Hulk and the members of Team Cap in Captain America, Civil War, and emerged mostly unscathed. This all helps to make Tony Stark's MCU arc among the most iconic in the MCU. After launching the MCU with Iron Man in 2008 and flying in the face of convention by revealing his true identity to the world, he led the charge as one of Earth's mightiest heroes, culminating in his heartbreaking self-sacrifice in Avengers: Endgame. In the lead-up to this sacrifice, Tony Stark nearly lost his life multiple times, and some villains got closer to this result than others. Justin Hammer is Tony Stark's longtime business rival, whose MCU debut in Iron Man 2 was among the movie's highlights. This is largely thanks to Sam Rockwell's performance, making Justin Hammer one of the most surprisingly likable MCU characters, despite his self-serving and money-hungry characterization. Thankfully for Tony Stark, Justin Hammer is also wildly incompetent and blundering, two characteristics that only bolster his likability, significantly diminishing his threat levels. The biggest threat Justin Hammer posed to Tony Stark was developing his Hammer drones. Not only do these drones threaten Tony's way of life by replacing him, but the end of Iron Man 2 sees Tony and Rhodey battling with a small army of Hammer drones. Nevertheless, not only are Justin Hammer's drones ineffective, under his purview, an outcome that Tony Stark banks on, but their subsequent assault on Tony Stark is not Hammer's doing. Instead, Hammer enlists a far more formidable mind to help him one-up his rival. Ivan Vanko is the primary villain of Iron Man 2 and one who admittedly gave Iron Man cause for concern. Ivan Vanko is the son of Anton Vanko, who helped Howard Stark invent the first arc reactor before being deported from the United States in disgrace after selling the designs on the black market and dying from alcohol abuse. Ivan swears vengeance on the Stark lineage and travels to kill Tony Stark using his own weaponized suit, powered by an arc reactor and using electrified whips to cleave targets. Whiplash gets pretty close to hurting Tony Stark as he invades the track of the Monaco Grand Prix, catching Iron Man unaware and without his suit. Even when suited up, Iron Man has his work cut out against Whiplash's mode of attack, both alone and when teamed up with War Machine. Still, it is hard to ignore how limited Whiplash's weapons are, consigning him to melee attacks while adversaries like Iron Man can unleash a barrage from range. Still, Vanko's genius intellect can certainly pose a threat. Obadiah Stane was Iron Man's first arch-nemesis, debuting as Tony Stark's mild-mannered business partner before it is revealed that he masterminded Tony's assassination by the Ten Rings, Terror Cell. Stane does this to wrest control of Stark Industries, only to have his plans thwarted after Tony builds the Mk1 armor in captivity. Stane uses Stark tech to stun Tony and steal his life-preserving arc reactor, nearly condemning his former business partner to death once more. This is when Stane acquires the most power, using the reactor to power his own Ironmonger suit. Stane's suit is more maneuverable than Whiplash's, with an imposing stature that bolsters his arsenal of weapons and gives him a physical edge over Iron Man. This combination allows Ironmonger to gain the upper hand in their final battle, forcing Tony Stark to take a hit from an overloaded prototype arc reactor to kill Ironmonger. In addition to the powerful Ironmonger suit, Stane boasts a similar level of power and resources to Justin Hammer, giving him an edge over the more rudimentary tools available to Ivan Vanko. Helmut Zemo has no superpowers or high tech, instead, debuting as a primary villain in Captain America: Civil War with little more than a grand scheme. After losing his family in the Battle of Sokovia in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Zemo hatches a plan to destroy the Avengers from within, using Bucky Barnes and his spotty history as the Winter Soldier. Zemo is ultimately successful, forcing Iron Man to discover that Bucky murdered his parents and forming a rift between him and Captain America. Despite being armed with little more than standard guns in his MCU appearances, Zemo's true threat levels lie with his cunning. The fact that Zemo was successful in tearing the Avengers apart ultimately laid the groundwork for Thanos' victory in Avengers: Infinity War, proving that he is capable of defeating Earth's mightiest heroes by exposing them to conflicts they would struggle to win. Zemo's skills would be recognized by Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, who recruit him as an unlikely ally in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Aldrich Killian is introduced in Iron Man 3 as the spurned admirer of Tony Stark and inventor of Extremis. Killian invents the Mandarin persona as a terrorist responsible for explosions that are, in truth, failed attempts to enhance test subjects with Extremis. While he would employ Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery to portray this harmless figure, he proudly declares himself to be the Mandarin in his final bout with Iron Man. It is during this fight that Killian reveals the formidable powers granted by Extremis. Among the most useful is a regenerative healing factor that makes him exceptionally difficult to defeat, in addition to the somewhat baffling ability to breathe fire. As the founder and CEO of Advanced Idea Mechanics, Killian also has access to many resources, which is something of a trend among Iron Man villains. Loki is the first Avengers-level threat faced by the titular team in 2012's The Avengers. The Asgardian god of trickery proves to be a formidable foe, mainly for his access to an Infinity Stone hidden in his mind-controlling scepter and the Chitauri army under his sway, granted to him by Thanos. The Avengers ultimately gain the upper hand against Loki and his army, subduing the villain with Hulk and leaving him for Thor to deal with in Asgard. Although Loki doesn't directly imperil Iron Man outside of the Chitauri army with his scepter, failing to affect Tony Stark thanks to the arc reactor in his chest, his godhood is hard to discount. Loki boasts the physiology of a frost giant, granting him abilities similar to Asgardians, in addition to magic taught to him by his adoptive mother, Frigga. This, combined with the cunning that earns him Thanos' support, is enough to make him superior to Tony's human nemesis. Avengers. Age of Ultron is the lowest rated of the Avengers movies, but debuts one of Marvel's most intimidating villains, Ultron. Much of the criticism leveled at the movie concerned Ultron's characterization, with his frequent wisecracks consistently proving that he is Iron Man's own creation, even if it flies in the face of his more cold and calculated comic book counterpart. Despite this, Ultron is still a formidable threat that nearly succeeds in wiping humanity from the face of the Earth. It takes the full might of all the Avengers, newly reinforced by Wanda and Pietro Maximoff and Vision, to defeat Ultron and his army of drones. Nevertheless, were it not for their combined efforts, Ultron's ability to exponentially upgrade and replicate himself could have easily spelled doom for the entire world. Although Iron Man is already dead in the MCU, Ultron is due to return in CT Vision's solo series, potentially rectifying some of the criticisms he was subjected to in his MCU debut.